Greetings and a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you very much indeed for joining Global Peace Studies for Sustainable Development, where we discuss pertinent issues of peace and sustainability around the world and across Africa. I'm George Mutalemwa, moderating this session on behalf of Solidarity for Peace and Development, MAMA. Today's session is the 200th since we embarked on this peace-building journey in 2021. Would you believe it? So I would like to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for being with us throughout this time. And this is just the beginning. Here is some good news. Last week, I received a certificate of registration for MAMA, Solidarity for Peace and Development, from the Registrar of Non-Governmental Organizations in Dodoma, Tanzania. So congratulations to you all. And here is the certificate. You may just have a look at it. And our theme today is in a time of global division, building peace through the intellect and the heart. The speaker is Sambhavi Susan Witt. Sambhavi is a senior consultant for the UNESCO Chair on Women's Empowerment and Gender Equality at the School of Social and Behavioral Science at Amrita University, Kerala, India. Thank you so much, Sambhavi, for being with us and for speaking to us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Sambhavi Susan Witt.
Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Thank you, George, for the invitation to do a presentation. I'm looking forward to this. Peter, could we just start with the slideshow, and then I'll just speak with each slide, and hopefully we will progress. No, the very first slide, please. Yes, thank you. For the past year, I've attended these meetings with all of you as a representative of the UNESCO Chair for Women's Empowerment and Gender Equality at Amrita University, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham in India. And I noticed yesterday the flyer somewhat alluded to my name, and then it said chair. And I do want to make it clear, I am not the chair holder, the UNESCO chair holder at Amrita. That is Dr. Bhavani Rao. And I actually am a senior consultant at the Center for Women's Empowerment and Gender Equality. And a year ago, Dr. Bhavani asked me if I would attend these meetings with all of you. And I gladly accepted and have been attending week by week. And listening to the amazing and brilliant presentations, the sophisticated frameworks related to many topics that relate to peace have been deeply inspiring for me and thought-provoking. Yeah. Many of you have referred in your presentations to what you call a polycrisis regarding global peace. And I see that it's multidimensional, multi-layered, and the solutions, they're not simplistic. It's very complex. Today, I am presenting a micro crisis, a crisis of the individual mindset. I want to highlight today to this group something that has been alluded to in a number of other presentations, and that is that the sophisticated search for global peace is incomplete without a look at how we cultivate the intellect and the heart of the individual. We can go to the next slide, Peter. today, I will share words of wisdom from Amrita University's Chancellor, Mata Amrita Nandamai Devi. Our Chancellor has spent the past 50 years serving and listening to people all over the globe. She's not only our Chancellor, but she's also a spiritual leader. And she's commonly referred to as the mother of millions. Amrita's humanitarian work spans the globe. And Amma, as a humanitarian leader, has addressed the United Nations on multiple occasions. And her message about peace is more relevant now than ever. Amma says, "We are trying to air condition the external world, but we have forgotten how to air condition the mind." My talk today is structured around Amma's, her public addresses to the United Nations and to global summits and spiritual leaders around the world regarding peace. Amrita University has used our Chancellor's worldview as the guide for the university's pedagogy and research. And I pray that I'm able to convey today in this talk her perspective accurately, because to me, it is the answer for global peace. So first, I'd like to share a video that encapsulates the reach of her work. Okay, this is where I'm going to try to share. Let me see if I can do it. It says someone else is sharing. I'm going to send a request to you,
It
Peter.
might be me. Here, let's try this.
The host isn't allowing multiple presenters. Okay, here. Oh, goodness. You're sharing?
Do you have sound at all?
No.
Oh, dear. Let's see.
If you could stop sharing, and then I can share.
Yeah, I'll give you permission.
Okay. Now I've got to go back to the beginning of this video.
It will tell me when it's not letting you in.
Just a sec, everybody. Please bear with us a moment here. I want to make sure that the video is at the very beginning. Hold on.
These machines have to let us know who's boss periodically.
Yes. Okay, I'm getting ready to share. Hold on. Thank you, everybody, for your patience here. Can you hear? Oops.
Yes.
stopped sharing. I think first, before you can share the next slide if you want to, Peter. I just wanted to state at this point that we often hear peace talked about as a global political state or a treaty, a ceasefire, or the resolution of borders, resolving borders, or whatever. But peace is not just about these actions or something signed on paper. It is something much more that must come from the heart. Amma often refers to the wings of a bird as a metaphor of how to move forward. Peace is a goal that requires two wings. The scientific material progress on the one wing and the spiritual human values on the other. The intellect and the heart. The masculine and the feminine. One without the other leaves us circling in place. Knowledge of the world and knowledge of the heart must be equal. If the epistemology of the heart is missing, the intellectual epistemology becomes dangerous. Amrita University's epistemology is holistic. It includes the mind and the heart. In Amma's speech to the United Nations one time, she said, "Unfortunately, in today's world, it is the language of the intellect that prevails, not the language of the heart. This is why the world is filled with conflict, violence, and war. There are two types of language in the world, the language of the intellect and the language of the heart. A feminine heart and a masculine intellect should unite and operate as one entity. This is the way to resolve conflicts, violence, and war. Let us remember," she continues, "that real leadership is not, hold on just a second, is not to dominate or control, but to serve others with love and compassion, and to inspire both women and men alike through the example of our lives." Thank you. Excuse me. The reason I'm having trouble seeing, I had surgery 2 days ago on my eye, and I'm like having trouble reading my notes, but we'll get through this. Peter, we can go to the next slide. The next slide. Yes, this one. Amma asks, how do we move from ineffective conflict in the world to a world where we don't just survive, but we thrive? According to her, the answer lies in, quote unquote, disarming the nuclear weapons of the mind. We can go to the next slide. We have to move from tolerating each other to perceiving the quote unquote self in each other. Now, when Amma speaks of the self, this one. When Amma speaks of the self, she's referring to a fundamental spark of humanity that exists within each and every human being. Before we put on our masks of nationality or religion or political party, any of that, it is simply our common humanity. As she points out, the words nation and religion imply division. Her point is that the self within each of us is the place where our differences dissolve into a single shared reality. That inner shared reality is that part of each of us that feels happiness, sadness, longing, caring, and also compassion. We all have this. And Amma warns against imposed peace, the kind of peace that comes from the top down or the outside in. Peace is a transition to right living, living according to our inner truth and universal harmony. When we begin to perceive these inner values of the self in our neighbor, regardless of ethnic group or border drawn 100 years ago, that's when we're performing the ultimate act of peace building. We can go to the next slide. Standardized peace is like a bandage on a wound. It stops the bleeding, but it does not heal the wound. In order for us to really experience peace, we must move from a peace that is signed to a peace that is lived through human values. Standardized peace assumes that we are separate units trying not to collide. Amma's view assumes that we are links in a single chain. Now, you cannot have a healthy society if the inner mental environment is polluted with hatred. Peace brokers have tried to import this standardized peace, work out peace agreements. But peace building means returning to our heart. It means recognizing that peace is not just a political arrangement. It is a natural result of human beings perceiving the inner values of compassion, respect, happiness, sadness, etc. in one another. It's a peace that sprouts from our own values, not a peace imposed from the outside. Let's go to the next slide, Peter. Think of it as a common thread that runs through every bead in a necklace. While the beads, they look different. All the beads are different on the outside, but the thread that holds them together is identical. So perceiving this self in another person means recognizing that the person standing across from you, even your enemy, possesses that inner feeling, that same inner feeling and yearning for happiness that you do. I remember while I was preparing this talk, I kept remembering that talk we had last year from Jo Barry, the gal from the UK who shared how she joined efforts with the so-called enemy from Ireland. This was after her father, a member of parliament, had been killed by the IRA in the bombing of 1984. She met that man that was responsible for that bombing after he was released from prison. And they became a beacon of hope and peace through joint talks over a 20-year period. To me, Jo Barry's talk and life is a perfect example of exactly what Amma talks about in her peace talks and about our common humanity. Another example is in the next slide. I have a clip from Instagram that I'm not sure we're going to be able to show it because I have a feeling my sound will also not work, but I will try. If you could stop sharing, Peter, I'll try to share my screen and see if I can pull it up. Here it is. So this is a Palestinian and a gentleman from Israel. And they were just interviewed recently, and I thought this was such a good example of what we're talking about. Hopefully I can share it. Okay, there's no sound, right?
Click on the little speaker thing. There we go.
From home, and he was taken to interrogation, was beaten up, tortured on allegation of throwing rocks.
This is his brother.
And
He's talking about
eventually,
his
because
brother.
of that beating, he ended up dying soon after he was released from prison. He's the one who protected me. He's the one who took care of me. And when he died, I felt like my protector is gone.
My parents, Bila and Jacobi, were among the first victims of the Hamas attack. During the afternoon, we got the news that their house was burned to ashes with them inside. And my young brother asked us to take a family decision that we are rejecting revenge. That we don't want to avenge the death of our parents, of our beloved parents, because avenging their death is not going to bring them back to life. It will only escalate the cycle of violence, bloodshed, and suffering that we, Palestinian Israelis, been trapped within for a century.
And after October the 7th, you reached out.
You need to show empathy. You need to show love. You need to reach out to people who suffer. It doesn't matter if they're Israeli or Palestinian. You need to take an initiative. And I knew I should do it. It wasn't even something I had to think about.
And a few hours after, I received this message, Aziz offering his condolences. And it was like a hand reaching out, saving me from falling into the abyss. And since then, in the last 2.5 years, working together, co-authoring The Future is Peace, I can now say that yes, I lost my parents, family, childhood friends, people I knew my entire life, but I won Aziz. I won Aziz as a brother.
There's a certain idea that, dialogue and grace and common ground and humanity, it's so naive, it will never solve the problem. But you know what strikes me as more naive? Bombing your way to peace. How does this happen?
Yeah.
How did the two of you...
I signed up to an app called...
So that's the video. Hold on, let me get out of this screen. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. Peter? Yeah. I just want to say before we get to this next slide, I just wanted to say that these examples that I just pointed out demonstrate that the realization that the other person is simply you with a different experience. When we actually begin to see this and we realize that to harm another is quite literally harming ourselves. So Amma defines this inner self as the unchanging essence within us. It's always there. Just like gold is the self of every piece of jewelry, whether it's a necklace, a ring, or a crown. This inner consciousness of the self is in every human being. And so we don't know peace by reading a book or listening to a talk. We know peace by perceiving the inner commonality, the inner common spark in the other person. A few weeks ago in this forum here, we had a gentleman present about restorative justice. And he talked about the process of mediating dialogues between prisoners and the victims of their crimes. Those very dialogues are so needed to heal both sides and to become foundations for peace. This is an example of bringing the mind and the heart together. Now, when we look at the conflicts around the world, we're only seeing the symptoms of the problems that we face. According to Amma, the root cause of conflicts is the ego. The ego of power and wealth, which fuels exploitation and resource conflicts. This is this drive to accumulate at the expense of others. And then the ego of exclusivity, which pushes my religion, my opinion is the only truth. The belief that my opinion, my politics, my religion alone is right and all others are wrong. Amma says, oddly, here we are trying to clone humans and reach Mars, yet we cannot sit in a room with someone of a different faith without friction. We can go to the next slide. For centuries, external forces have imposed divisions, lines on maps, that ignored the heartbeat of the people. This is the ego of power that Amma speaks of. Today, the challenge of decolonization is to ensure that we don't continue to colonize ourselves with these same mentalities of hatred or us versus them. Decolonization is not just a political history, it's an ongoing process of reclaiming identity and dignity. Amma's perspective here is powerful. It suggests that true decolonization must happen in our consciousness. If we only change the borders, but we keep the ego of division, we have not truly freed ourselves. Peace building is about getting rid of the I am better than you mindset. We can go to the next slide. Decolonizing our peace building means moving away from the standardized peace often imported from the outside. Standardized peace is conflict resolution applied without regard for local wisdom, spirituality, or communal structures. Embracing a peace that celebrates our diversity, our different colors, languages, and traditions is the very thing that makes the world beautiful. We can go to the next slide. Recognizing this doesn't mean that we ignore our differences. Certainly not. It only means that we see the unity that underlies diversity. Diversity is not a barrier, but it's often treated as an obstacle to be managed. In the colonial era, diversity was seen as a problem to be managed or suppressed. Amma invites us to adjust our perspective. See diversity as a bouquet. For Amma, diversity makes the world beautiful. Let's go to the next slide. Now, Amma frequently reminds us that while technology has brought the world closer, our hearts are still far apart. So I guess I ask myself, well, what do we do about this, especially with the current state of artificial intelligence? As AI is shaping our future society, it must mean that decolonizing peace also means decolonizing algorithms. Some are suggesting that we need to move beyond ethical AI toward a compassionate AI that can recognize and alleviate human suffering. There's an emerging human-centric AI approach that's beginning to develop. And this human-centered approach to technology actually honors the common bond that we share beneath the facades of nationality and politics. And it's prioritizing, I was so happy to find this out, our shared needs for safety, fairness, and trust over machine efficiency. So as more of us turn to AI for answers, making these universal human values a priority is not just a technological challenge, it's a necessity for bridging the gaps between us and promoting peace. We can go to the next slide. Recently, with the war in the Middle East, there has been a surge in peace demonstrations around the world. And you can read the placards in the demonstrators, the placards that they're carrying. And many of them speak of this very topic of our common humanity. One particular highlight has been the Barefoot March for Peace in Rome and the immense challenges faced by mothers in Gaza and Israel. They are striving for survival and family stability. Their focus is on that common bond of motherhood to build empathy and unity across religious and political divides. Okay, we can go to the next one. Another aspect that Amma addresses is self-confidence, the ability to express our own potential rather than copying an outside model. Self-confidence is incredibly important. With self-confidence, we are able to express our true, unique potential, and we move ahead. When we cultivate these inner values with self-confidence, then we are able to shine like beautiful flowers for the world, and everyone benefits. Amrita, Amma emphasizes that we are not isolated islands. What you do affects me, and what I do affects you. So by rooting our peace building self-confidently in these human values, rather than just the imported systems, we begin to create a peace that connects everyone. Next slide. Now, Amma is clear. We cannot talk peace to a starving person. She says, until essential needs are met, it is impossible for anyone to aspire to higher states of awareness. And this validates our network here. The range of topics each week, they span all kinds of topics, including sustainable development, poverty, resource sharing. If we are going to move from the absence of war to living in harmony with universal values, then basic needs must be met. The next slide. Amma speaks of two kinds of poverty. We have the poverty of lack of food, clothing, shelter, etc., and the other poverty from the lack of compassion and love. If the poverty of lack of compassion and love is addressed first, then the other poverty will automatically be addressed. So this is why we must look within at our own common inner values. Next slide. Peace isn't just a political arrangement. It is a return to the heart. Next slide. Now, some people out there dismiss love and compassion as soft or unscientific. But through our work at Amrita University, we are challenging these traditional approaches to learning and knowledge. We see compassion as a necessary foundation for progress in the world. We recognize that the root, yes, stay on this slide, please. Thank you. We recognize that the root causes of conflict must be addressed at the individual level to make change happen at the systemic level. Tapping into the inner attitudes of peace and compassion transforms individuals into leaders who prioritize empathy, inclusion, and ethical decision-making over aggressive, exploitative policies. Individuals, the students who are attuned to inner higher values, prioritize the greater good over purely self-interest or aggressive policies. Amrita University is fostering a culture of caring that encourages leaders to adopt leadership styles that serve the world. Next slide. Once an individual begins to operate with the heart, with compassion and caring as their framework for life's decisions, the true experience of peace happens. Amma says there are two types of education. There's education for living and education for life. Now, education for living is about practical skills and knowledge that enables individuals, the students, to contribute positively to society and their communities. But education for life focuses on essential principles and values that guide one's existence and fosters a deep connection with oneself and the world. Amma believes that these two types of education should be integrated, aiming to produce professionals who are not only knowledgeable, but also possess the heart and the mind to uplift the world. Every student at Amrita University, no matter which department, and on all our 9 campuses, are required to spend some of their academic time in villages around India and learn from the people at the grassroots level about the pressing issues of the day. Students have documented these semesters as life-changing. So Amma's vision for peace goes beyond talk and has actually translated into measurable, scientific, humanitarian projects. Amrita University's research in sustainable development, addressing basic needs, demonstrates that the inner values of compassion lead to community-level results. Let's look at a few examples. Next slide. In Tanzania, Amrita University trained young women to be water ambassadors. They used the Amrita Tau protocol, a mix of community surveys and sensor technology, to monitor water quality. These women became water ambassadors. When women manage water, the basic needs that Amma speaks of are met. This allows the community to focus on higher goals like education and harmony. The next slide. Since 2010, Amma's organization runs a care center in Nairobi for 160 children from impoverished families, providing daily meals, education, and healthcare. The center is a living laboratory for the curriculum of the heart, sowing seeds of compassion. Next slide. The examples of Amma's humanitarian projects are so long, and Amrita's work, it's too much for me. The previous slide, please. There's so many projects that we are conducting at Amrita that I thought I would highlight just a few of them. We were invited to help with a motorcycle repair collaborative in Rwanda. And it ended up leading to the first garage in Rwanda that was run by women mechanics. We've done some collaborative work in Kenya that has led to training more than 6,000 unemployed youth in carpentry, tailoring, plumbing, computers, hospitality. We've run free medical camps in 9 countries of Africa, offering consultations and cataract surgeries. In India, since 2005, we have supported more than 15,000 self-help groups, offering livelihood training and microfinance. Since 2020, we have conducted a workshop series for the police force on gender-based violence, equality, and mental health. we have been able to train more than 25,000 officers. Since 2021, we've conducted an agricultural project that has assisted families to manage orchards while honoring the elephant environment. And a project that we are especially proud of trained women as plumbers and masons to build toilets and end open defecation, which led to an award from the President of India. Next slide. Yes, the activities of under Amrita University and our Chancellor are so numerous, I can only highlight a few. We have been ranked 8th in the world for impact on the UN Sustainable Development Goals and have received many national and international awards for the work being done. Amma's work in India, in Kenya, in Tanzania, etc., is not just charity. It's an act of recognition of our common humanity. Amrita University's many projects demonstrate Amma's guidance as walking the walk, not just talking the talk. Next slide. For myself in my life, I am pursuing peace in the world principally by following Amma's guidance and supporting several efforts. Now, Peter, I'm going to mention something you said a few months ago. You explained that each of us have our own personal perspectives on the world, and they're like a mosaic within our own being. And each of our mosaics are unique. So here's my mosaic, my personal mosaic for peace. It includes 1, education that taps into common human values. 2, doing our own personal work of mental hygiene to get rid of wrong thinking, negative thinking. And 3, performing acts of compassion that binds us as a global family. Next slide. I would encourage all of us to recommend and support open source human values education. In essence, we need to help children discover the seeds of compassion early on, before hatred takes root. Amma argues that human values should be standard education. We must move beyond academic learning to human values education. Open source, character building curriculum available to all that instill compassion, patience, respect should be core competencies, not just electives. Children equipped with character building education develop self-confidence and critical thinking skills, which in turn help them resist disinformation and radicalization. One example of this type of curriculum is called the Character Counts curriculum. It's taught in the Michigan public schools, or at least it was 30 years ago, 25 years ago, when my son was in school, and I was so impressed by it. This curriculum focuses on universal human values of respect, trustworthiness, responsibility, fairness, caring, rather than dogma. It's a secular mental hygiene, if you want to say. It fits into any national curriculum. The next slide. Beyond human values education for children, we need to work to eliminate the quote-unquote nuclear weapons of the mind that Amma mentions. While we rightly worry about chemical pollution, Amma reminds us to consider the equally toxic mental pollution that feeds disinformation. This internal pollution creates a toxic atmosphere where negative thoughts eventually manifest as war. Therefore, true disarmament is not just about decommissioning missiles. It's about uprooting the ego-driven narratives and fake news within our own consciousness. When we believe that we are inherently right and others are wrong, we are feeding the ego's thirst for division. So, to counter this, we must redefine critical thinking not merely as logic, but as the courage to see our own ego. By clearing the mental landscape within ourselves, we are cultivating a global family mindset and shifting from merely tolerating the other to perceiving our common humanity. And finally, the next slide, active compassion. Recognizing that peace cannot exist alongside hunger. It's like the right hand aiding the left hand when it hurts. We must feel the suffering of other communities and other nations as our own. Just as the right hand aids the left hand when it's injured, global aid should be a natural response to suffering, not a transactional charity. I feel that we should scale initiatives like the Amrita Wise Project, the Water Ambassador Project, or the Amrita Eye Care Project, or the Amrita SHG's Vocational Training Project. All of these empower people and communities, and it reduces competition and conflict, resource competition I'm referring to. Okay, so next slide. I'm going to share a story that Amma often shares when she speaks. 3 religious leaders met to plan for world peace. God was pleased and sent an angel to grant their wishes. The angel asked them, "What are you wishing for?" The leader of religion A said, "Religion B is responsible for all the problems. Please, you must wipe them off the face of the earth." And the leader of religion B said, Religion A is the cause of all our troubles. You have to reduce them to ashes." By now, the angel was disappointed. The angel turned expectantly to the leader of religion C. With an expression of grave humility, the leader of religion C said, "Oh, I wish nothing for myself. It will be enough if you merely grant the prayers of my 2 colleagues." Next slide. Peace goes well beyond the absence of war and conflict. It must be fostered within the individual, within the family, and within society. We have a choice to focus on the waste that we are producing, meaning the conflicts, the negativity, the ego, or we could focus on cultivating inner qualities. If we focus on cultivating these inner common qualities like respect, compassion, fairness, the desire for peace, happiness, etc., we blossom, and the world will naturally be drawn to that peace. A couple weeks ago, there's another gentleman in this group, Honestly Just Joe. I'm going to try to quote something he said. I'm not sure I'm saying it exactly, but he said in essence that the onus is on us to bring about a new way. He said, greed will continue if we don't do something. He pointed out, we are not animals. We have brains and must not allow fighting dominance like the animal kingdom. Interestingly, Amma says this very same thing. She says, we are not animals. We have brains. We must use discrimination. She points out, be self-confident. We are not little lion cubs. We are powerful as lions, and we can make change happen. We must be self-confident and move forward, living the very values that bring about peace. Using the heart and the intellect, peace will happen. Amma says, The key to world peace is within every individual residing on this planet. Yes. So, before we cool down external conflicts, we have to address the inner mental pollution of negative thoughts and hostility. Peace is cultivating the inner human values, bringing the heart and the intellect together. So let us blossom like beautiful flowers for the world. Thank you so much. That's the presentation for today.
Thank you very much indeed, Sambhavi, for this wonderful, wonderful presentation. And I'm so happy that you are not only citing AMA, but also people from this, from Global Peace, and how lovely that is. You know, thank you so much indeed. And definitely we need to cultivate the heart and the intellect in building peace. I would like now to ask participants here for questions, comments, so that we continue actually sharing our own experiences. And this, you've talked really about so many important things, almost like every sentence is worth quoting. Let's begin with Mary Ma. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Professor. And I have question is, who is real leader nowadays? What kind of leader is real? I confused. Sorry.
Is a real leader? Is that what?
Who is your leader? Right. Mary Ma, I think you mean the Prime Minister or the mentor?
The professor said the real leader. Nowadays, who is real leader? What kind of leader is real leader nowadays? A little bit confused. Thank you.
That's a good question. And I feel, for me, I look around and I am inspired by leaders who do combine the heart and the mind. And I think they're few and far between right now on the global scale. I think within my own personal community, I do see people who are leading with the heart and the mind, with the intellect and those inner values of respect and fairness. But maybe some others in the group here have some suggestions for an answer for that. We've had, the gentleman that spoke from Russia recently, I don't remember his name. George, you can probably remind everybody what his name is.
That was Yuri Sayamov.
He's an amazing leader. He's a diplomat, and he really gets the macro picture, the big scale picture about what's going on in the world with the UN and the Security Council and all the different countries that are represented and not represented. And so he gave me such a sense of hope about leaders in the world. Maybe some others have some suggestions. I feel like I'm not going to have necessarily answers for anybody. I just shared my viewpoint, but maybe others in the group have answers for those sort of things.
All right. Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you so much, Sambhavi. Kurt, Lockhart.
Yes, thank you very much for your beautiful talk. I love Amma a lot. And I only want to say short sentences about leadership. I think you know Rajagopal from India, who got the Nirvana Peace Prize. And the leadership of the Gandhian type of leadership is, for me, the best. We have in the West this discussion, everybody wants to have right, and the ethic behavior is not as Rajgopal or Gandhi has shown us, or Amma had the right ethical where you're inside and they live that. That is the only thing what I wanted to add.
Thank you so much, Kurt.
I wonder.
And I'm sure that, yes, Michael?
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm new to the group here. Nice to meet everybody. My name is Michael Velez, and I live in Nairobi. I moved to Nairobi last September to pursue the work that I'm doing for a nonprofit organization. I have to tell you, so much of what you talked about resonates so clearly to me because just last week I gave a talk to the Rotary Club of Nairobi, and within my talk I talked about some of these very things, and if I could just take a couple of minutes and share that with you, I've got it here in front of me, my talk. So Chase Hughes, a behavioralist and consultant, has studied ancient texts to learn about some of the human truths that have been found across the centuries. In one of his releases, he talked about the nature of truth. And many of the ancient texts identified many of the same truths, even though they were separated by centuries and continents. And so he identified in his research of ancient texts and religious teachings 5 universal truths. And the first truth he mentioned, and I think it's really relevant to this topic of compassion and empathy. Truth number 1, you are not separate. We find these truths in parables and other teachings from across centuries and continents. For example, the Upanishads in India said, you are that, and you are the divine. Jesus said, the entire kingdom of God is within you. There's a Christian song that says, we are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. And we pray that all unity will one day be restored. From the Islamic Sufi texts, you are not a drop in the ocean, you are an ocean, you are the ocean in a drop. In the Hermetic texts, said, all is one. Taoism teaches everything is in the Tao, expressing itself in 10,000 forms. The Mayan text taught that the heart of the sky is the heart of the earth. Buddha said there is no separate self. In the Kabbalah, creation is one emanation divided only in appearance. New findings in quantum physics find that everything is one field. Separation is an hallucination. And I'm just going to quick go through these 4 other truths. Fear is an illusion. Love is the truth. Your mind is not a camera, it is a projector. The enemy is not the world, the enemy is the ego. And truth number 5, everything is connected. And I think if you look through all of these texts, separated by continents and centuries, by sages and religious philosophers, they all point to the same thing. We are all one, we are all connected. And I think that aligns completely with, the comments that you shared, and I just appreciate it, and I really get what you're saying, and so I thank you for your share today.
Thank you very much indeed, Alex.
I think when we all
Michael.
start to realize that we are all one, it's hard to think about violence and separation and the opposite of peace, because we are all one. So thank you for letting me share that.
Thank you very much indeed, Michael Velez, and you are welcome to Global Peace. And I'm sure that you'll continue actually being with us. And now that you've experienced firsthand how we go about things and the wonderful presentations that you've had so far. And this is definitely one of them. And Janet, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Sambhavi. I really, I had to say, I especially loved your slides. Did you make them, or that's one question. And I thought they were really fantastic. And
Let me say I did make the slides, but AI helped me an awful lot. But I kept putting in the things that I wanted to kind of portray, and some of them came up quite nicely. I was starting to feel like AI got a little too sophisticated and said a little too many things I didn't really want. So I had to start doing a few of them, just do my simple little. But yeah, it was.
it was like a whole nother level of advanced PowerPoint from my perspective. And also I really want to pick up this question of Mary's, of what is leadership? What kind of leadership do we need for peace? Peace building, peacemaking, peace feeling. And I thought maybe other people in the group might be able to respond to that, as like, instead of asking you a question, giving these comments of what is leadership, and maybe you can react to that, because we could all learn from your presentation didn't so much leave us with questions, but it left us with so many insights. So how can we braid those together? Maybe on the topic of leadership. Anyway, so if you don't mind, George, I wonder if other people could respond to that.
I would like to say that while I was preparing this presentation, I've had a lot of these thoughts and feelings for many years about the topic of peace. And I think of many of the big leaders like Gandhi, like Martin Luther King, like Mandela, like so many of the really big ones, Mother Teresa, so many of the big ones that have lived with a huge amount of courage. And but I feel like they blended that heart and mind so clearly, and they understood humanity. Those are examples that come to my mind, but I certainly would love to hear from others too. Thank you very much, Jan.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
If I might chime in again here, I come from the engineering and construction world, and so I wrote a book called On Time and Under Budget, and it's all about leadership, and it's about servant leadership. And in your talk, you talked about service, and I think a commitment to, so I'm a member of Rotary International, and the Rotary motto is service above self. And I was raised a Christian, and I consider myself a Christian. And I think the example, and I talked about this in my comments to the Rotary Club yesterday, the example that Christ gave us at the Last Supper, when he humbled himself and got on his knees and washed the feet of his disciples. And he said, "Do this in memory of me. Now that I, your leader, have shown you what to do, go do what I have done for you." And so I think the whole idea of service and being in service to community, to family, your community, the world, is a real sign of great leadership. And I think it's all about service and love. That's my feeling about it.
Thank you so much, Michael. Let's go to CJ and then Evelyn and then Donna. CJ, please. You're welcome. Please unmute your microphone, CJ. Your microphone, please, is on. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. The presentation was quite eye-catching, and quite opening their eyes. I would like to comment, or like to to us on our, particularly I'm working with an NGO in Mwanza, Tanzania, and I'm quite interested with the model of trying to instill the peace mentality amongst the youth and the children in communities. And my question will be, what is the role of the spiritual leaders? What is the role of the guardians or parents, or what is the role of the politicians in instilling peace amongst the youth and the children particularly, and particularly grounding this in an education setting, particularly in the curriculum, because if kids are well molded towards understanding why peace is important and are nurtured while they are still young, they'll be able to practice this when they are adults. I've been much interested in what is happening, I'm sorry, in Kenya right now. There are a lot of political conflicts, and youth are learning this, the kind of the conflicts among us politicians who are aspiring for different seats or positions, the kind of the exchange of words and bitterness. I am a bit worried that this can inspire some of the youth or negatively, and therefore it calls upon some concerns, particularly in the level of the family level, and also in the level of the church or mosque or whatever spiritual level, but also as politicians. What is their roles to instill this? Thank you.
Thank you so much, CJ. Let's take a couple of questions from, Evelyn and Donna, and then Sambhavi can respond to all of them together. Evelyn, please, welcome.
Thank you. And I join the other to echo my pleasure and learning through this presentation. I'd also like to thank Mary for starting this discussion on leadership. Thank you, Mary. And my only point was in listing the leaders or the leadership, I would like to add President Julius Nyerere. I think he has been much maligned by history, and I believe if people go back to the times in which he raised his humanitarian or humanist philosophy at a time when Kenya was going through incredible violence, he managed to bring, you all know this, but I just need to repeat it for myself, that in that time where there was conflict in a neighboring country, he forged, and in the world split between communism and capitalism, he forged the African socialism on a humanist basis and brought a country from clanship to nationhood in peace. So I would just like to add his name. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Evelyn. And actually, when the speaker was talking, I thought about the values that also you talked about during your presentation, and she mentioned many of them. So thank you so much. Donna, please.
You think I remember how it's audio?
Yes, we hear you though, Donna. Now you are muted. Your microphone is muted. We can't hear you.
I just wanted to say to Michael Vaidiez, welcome to Nairobi. And you can find me on Google. Please be in touch. Okay, and anybody else who is new in Kenya, please feel free to contact me. I've been here for 57 years. And I thought I was going to stay for 5 months in 1967. Forget it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donna. I've already visited you.
Yes, you.
All right.
Yes,
Thank you
you
so
have
much.
already visited me. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Where do we find you, Donna? Where do we find you?
You find me on Google. I'm all over the place. I won't
Okay.
bother trying to find me now. And by the way, I live in a part of town where white people don't frequent. So there you are.
I live in Westlands, so
Oh,
that's
see,
fine.
I live in Kariakor. Ask somebody where
That's-
Kariakor is. They may not even
Yeah.
know. Okay.
That's fine.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. I
All
hope
right.
you'll be.
Yeah, thank you so much, Donna, for the invitation. And now, Pierre, please.
Thank you, George. This is Pierre. I am happy to be here. I am a volunteer from Caritas International, and I am active in the facilitation of social forums. Some of you may know this very particular format of social forum, which is ruled by a series of principles, and I will share these principles in the chat. And I am conveying an invitation, because basically a social forum is an open space for encounters where organizations can meet and dialogue. And the word dialogue is very important because it's also bringing a mutual understanding, acknowledgement, recognition, transformation through dialogue. Dialogue is a very powerful transformation engine. And so the social forum is a very broad space positioned by values that are in those principles. And it's individual can come, but it's basically something that is structured by collective entities participating and proposing those encounters. So each encounter is like proposed by a series of organizations that are responsible for its logistics, its outreach, its methodology, its documentation. So the space is filled with those encounters that are taken up by different groups. And so it's a great place to meet and dialogue about many issues that the organization, including peace, which is the peace and development, which is the scope of this series of webinars that George is promoting. So I extend an invitation to a webinar that's taking place tomorrow to say why and how participate in Global World Social Forum. So you're most welcome to join if you're interested. Thank you very much, and thanks again, George, for keeping up this space and different topics that you are addressing.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Pierre. Yes,
Peter, could you please put the link in the chat and maybe
It's already done, Janet.
Thank you.
So please look up in the chat. There are many links that have been shared.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Wonderful. Maybe Sambhavi would like to respond to some of the comments or questions.
Several responses. Number one is that this group here, we have all been studying really hard about the topics of peace, and there's many, many different angles to it. And I feel like we all, perhaps today, this presentation is just a reminder, because many of us have considered these inner human values as so important in helping promote peace. And for CJ, I don't know if you are a regular participant here in the group, but George, maybe you can remind us of the person that did the presentation a while back about youth and how to help youth connect with one another and live the values of peace. But as far as leadership and finding those leaders that will be inspirational and make a difference in a youth's life, we want to look for those leaders who already have those values, those inner values of empathy, fairness, trust, and encourage them to motivate youth in the right direction. And it all comes, really, to me, it all comes back down to, yes, we need to be smart and use our intellect and our mind, but we also really do need to have those true inner values that speak to compassion and caring. And combining them together, we can do so much. And when I was preparing this, I thought to myself, my gosh, the world feels like it's in such a mess. But if, one or two people start imbibing this way of life, it ripples out. And so we can, I actually see from the demonstrations that I mentioned that I've been seeing lately, especially due to the Middle East, the demonstrations with all those placards and all the different slogans that are written on them, that I see so many people standing up right now and saying, we have to get back to our common human connection and recognize that nobody wants this kind of conflict, the wars, the discord. And perhaps I want to always be hopeful that we're moving in towards a more peaceful world. And it might take, especially on the macro level, it's incredibly difficult with the state of the UN and all the leaders in the world, different kind of mindset. I know our leader in the US is, to me, not imbibing these internal values of empathy and caring, but it really does take that. I don't have much else to say other than maybe some others have something more to say. And George, I don't know if you can mention to CJ that the leader who talked about youth development. Can't remember.
Yes, that was Batty Jane. She talked about youth and her program actually of training or mentoring young people and to be peace builders, peace lovers, and right. And when talking about leaders, the names that were mentioned, I see that, well, of course, some of them are fairly recent, but most of them tend to be quite old. I mean, Nyerere, Mandela, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi. We don't hear like current leaders, and I don't know what's not happening with our current leaders today. Janet, please.
Yes, well, I think we could make a distinction between heroes, iconic, larger than life leaders. And for example, you, George, who's leading this webinar, and you are exemplifying this kind of leadership on a down-to-earth level where we can connect with you and each other. So maybe we can say leaders, not necessarily iconic heroes larger than life.
Wow. Thank you so much, Janet. Evelyn?
I guess a current leader we could cite is the King of Bhutan, where the happiness index rules the country rather than the economic index. And I believe that they demonstrate as a nation a focus on mind and heart, and is current.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. Yeah, I could say congratulations on the 200th session. Yeah, really appreciate that. And we are doing this together, and therefore I really thank you. Thank you so much indeed. And, each time I ask myself, how can this happen? But you make it happen. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you. And as I said, this is just the beginning. Together we can do more or do better, certainly.
I think we need to, sorry, may
yes,
I?
Yes.
I think we need to give George some kind of an award to commemorate the 200th meeting.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. Thank you.
The Heart and Mind Leadership Award.
Oh, very nice. We could use one of your AI generated slides that combine it and put George's name on it because they were so elaborate and fantastic. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Helen, would you like to say something?
Hakuna sauti.
Yeah, no sound yet, but we can see that you are doing well, Helen. Close to midnight somewhere in Australia. Melbourne.
Ah, there we are. No, I'm actually in Canberra today. I'm sad that we haven't had more African voices today about what people think about leadership. I was very lucky. I actually got to meet Nyeri. And when my students are looking very bored, I say to them, well, you think I'm very old and very boring, but who else do you know who has actually been hugged by Mandela? So, who was a very humble and very aware of what he could do and what he couldn't do. And I had one absolutely amazing experience. He came, I was living in Zambia in Lusaka at the time, and he came to Lusaka on a visit, and they put on a play in the gardens of the president's gardens, and a play about Mandela. And Mandela sat and watched somebody play him on stage. And I was only just sitting behind him, and he was sitting with his daughter. And he kept turning to her and saying, I wasn't like that at all. It was a fascinating experience.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much. I saw Richard. You wanted to say something, right, Richard?
Yeah, sorry. Good afternoon from Ghana.
Good afternoon.
Okay. I wanted to just crack a short joke. If you come home from work and you see your wife prepared a soup with goat meat, cow meat, chicken, full on your what is full? How do you reconcile such lives? How do you bring peace to that life lost before you eat? If you can, then it means peace will be simpler for you to what is it? To make. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard. Talking about reconciliation, bring about peace if there is conflict between, say, a couple, and that's how I got it. So I'd like to thank everyone and ask Sambhavi to say one word just as we close for today. And of course, I'm looking forward to seeing all of you again next week. And so we have exciting topics actually lined up this year. So thank you very much indeed. Sambhavi, please say something more.
To say is for me, and I hope the message that I shared today from Amma, which she has shared, I said at the United Nations, etc., that if we were able to imbibe this this approach to life, combining the mind and the heart, that I really do believe that we can all work at making a difference in the world, and bit by bit it gets better. And I often think that if everybody's looking for leaders, like Mary, you asked about leaders, I think sometimes there's a lot of people working in this direction with the mind and the heart in a very quiet way, and maybe in a very small way, with a small circle. But it does ripple out, and it's incredibly important. And so I just hope we carry on. And Amma, for me, is a leader that I'm following very much. I'm so happy to be a part of Amrita University because I see it in the students, and it's a marvelous approach to learning. Thank you for this chance to be here today. I look forward to seeing you all each week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you,
Thank you for your
everyone,
presentation.
and goodbye
Thank you so
for
much.
now.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.